Hello Internet, and welcome to this lovely Monday, which is the 29th of July 2019. I'm Doc Eon, and I'm here to ramble. And we started out with the metal minis I've completed this week. They're all from Heresy Miniatures, and I completed most of them actually at the painting evening at the store last Monday. A few things I touched up when I got home, like the gems, for example. And the varnishing, of course. And we start out with Big Boris here. Big muscly dude. And I've been practicing on the metallics on his axe, trying to apply a little bit of that non-metallic metal thinking to how I place the highlights and shades, and how I push the light and shade on them. I hope it looks okay. It looks okay, pretty good in person, in real life, but I'm never sure how it looks on camera. And otherwise, he was a simple enough guy. The gems, the large gems are painted in with, like, the gemstone technique. The smaller ones are just dotted in, like the ring and the pendant, with one of those gem-like effect paints. But overall, I think he works. And then we have the two Dwarven Miners. Here's Pistol Packing Pete, and he has his pickaxe, a helmet, and yeah, cool guy. And this guy is just giving him both barrels. This is a long gun. Anyway, these are all classical fantasy miniatures, painted with my classical techniques, and they turned out nice. It's not a lot to say about that, really. Pretty good. Oh, by the way, I realized I wanted to add a little note about Boris here. His eyes are not fully painted, you'll see. It's just white dots inside black. And that is because they're freaking tiny. They're way too tiny. I cannot paint full eyes on this guy. But I don't think many people will notice. Just end footnote. Well, here we have a bit of trolling. This is the Trolls add-on from the Bones 4 Kickstarter, and it has 3 very different types of trolls and a doggy. Well, let's start with the most... This is classical D&D troll in its sculpt, so I painted it like one, just basic green. A slightly different tone of green because he has some scales here. And then the troll dog, I painted like a pug. That is a black face and pale fur. Not completely white or grayish white like normal pugs are, but a kind of olive color. Just to slightly match its masters. And of course it has these big teeth. Then there's a rock troll, where, again, I went with a sort of olive green for the skin this time, because I had the idea of the blue rocks, and just straight green skin and blue rocks would not have looked good. That would not, I don't think that would have been a good color combo. At least it wouldn't have been as striking as this is. This is more interesting, I think. Yeah. And finally we have the aquatic troll, fishy troll, which I went, again, shades of green, like a pale green for the belly and the fins, and a blue green for the main body and scales, and I went with an orange and red fish to contrast that under his arm. Simple enough. No great high quality paint jobs here, just rough and ready tabletop standard stuff. but that's good enough for my purposes. And here we have the most unusual project I've painted in a while. It's the Millennium Falcon. And it's a little unsteady. It falls over easily, even though I have not actually glued it to this stand so that I can angle it a little bit, and also I've put weights in the back of the stand to weigh it down, but still the stand should have been placed like a few millimeters further forward. I don't know. I mean, I suppose I could have cut a new hole to really fix it, but oh well, never mind. It's good enough as long as people don't push it. As long as you just let it stand here on its own, it's gonna be fine. And the color, I've not really tried to. I'm not done what some fanatics do when they paint the Falcon or other. I haven't referenced photos of the actual model and tried to copy the colors exactly. I've just gone sort of, you know, maybe it's not actually the Millennium Falcon, maybe it's another YT-1300 freighter. But, you know, my first model kit in many years, a very small scale one, because I didn't want it to take up too much space here at home. But it's, you know, simple techniques, and like I mentioned, this is mostly done with most of the details picked out with a paint wash, just black paint thinned down a whole lot, and then trying to wipe off some of the excess with a cotton swab. I couldn't do that completely because that would the lines are so fine. If I ran that cotton swab over the entire surface, it would remove the lines that I wanted to be there as well. So I had to leave some of it on the surfaces as well. I don't know if you can see, but it looks a little bit dirty. But that's okay, because it's supposed to be a dingy old rust bucket, so we can call it weathering. There's some grime on it, simply. But, yeah. You know, maybe I'll pick... Oh, and here you can see the effect I achieved. There's on the solid plastic behind this clear bit, I painted a sky blue, a light, very light blue. And then I used Tamiya clear blue on the actual clear plastic bit. It's on the inside of it, actually, not on the outside. So to create a sort of two-layered effect. And that's the engine exhaust. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, maybe I'll do more model kits in the future. I don't have any immediate. And here we get to my failures of the week. Well, not completely. I mean, I did do some work on the Rapid Ranger. I would like to say that I finished everything that is not covered on the DVDs. I painted his clothing, his leather pouches, and so forth. It's the fur, the eyes, and the bow left, and those are covered by sections on the DVD set. But these Pathfinder Iconics, extremely little has been done. I've started work on the skin tones a little bit, but yeah. And the reason I got comparatively little done this week, as opposed to the other weeks, is that I took about a day and a half off to play video games, which is not something I do very often anymore, almost never. But I somehow got sucked into it this past week, and I'm choosing to see it as a period of necessary recuperation, because looking back on this summer so far, I have been extremely productive. I have been in creative mode almost the entire time. When I haven't been painting, I've been reading or writing something useful or important. And so I've been very busy and a good boy. But apparently I think my brain just needed to disconnect, unplug, unwind, relax, and do something completely trivial and useless for a while. And that is the definition of video games: trivial and useless. Sorry to any hardcore gamers out there, but it is. Anyway, I did it, put it behind me, and now I'm back on track. Now I'm I'm back in creative mode. So these last couple of weeks of the summer before I start working again, the school semester starts. Well, it starts for me in 2 weeks. I've got 2 weeks of actual full summer vacation left, and then 1 week, which is the startup week at school, where I'm there, but the students mostly are not yet. So it's a week of preparatory work. I don't have any classes, just a bunch of meetings and stuff, and of course prep work for upcoming classes. So let's say 2 weeks of full vacation and 1 week of partial vacation left, and then it's back to business as usual. And then of course the number of minis painted per week will decrease sharply. I mean, I've been averaging like maybe, I don't know, 15 per week, at least more than 10 most weeks. It was only 8 this week, which is really, really low. But during the semesters, I paint between 5 and 10 in a week. So I've been like doing twice that during the summer. Anyway, that's a lot of rambling and justification, and let's just move on to other stuff that I have prepped or am going to start. And here we're looking at all the newly prepped Bones stuff. In the front rack we have the Chibi heroes. They're primed, assembled, primed, and I've done some initial black lining. It looks really messy, but it's going to get cleaned up, I promise. And it's a necessary step. I think I have to dark line very clearly to get the sort of comic booky look to them, or manga, if you want to use those terms. And each figure actually has one bit, like the wings for Sophie, the axe for something else, shield, staff, so forth, that I am painting separately, that if I attached it would get too much in the way of painting, so yeah. Back here we have the 3 Hell Giants and their hunting cats. You can see they're just primed. They're sort of zenithal primed with a lighter coat from above. The bases, there were no bases included at all for these minis actually. I had to build my own. These are made from a combination of, these are just blank Reaper plastic 50mm bases that I've stamped with some green stuff and then added a little bit of basing grit paste from Vallejo over that to get a combination of effects. And it's interesting that they don't have a consistent size for the giants. I mean, I've got the 2 previous Hill Giants they made in Bones, I had to put on 60mm bases, and the other giants they produced, they're on everything between 50 and 75mm bases, so there is unfortunately no consistent size there, but you just have to fudge it. Anyway, these are actually, the giants are going to be moved up in priority. They'll jump the queue a little bit because I actually need them for this coming weekend. They need to be finished by Friday, honestly. So I'm gonna like fast track these 3 guys because I have to, and so they will almost definitely be finished next episode, and probably these guys as well, but we'll see. Now these new metal minis are not fully prepped yet. They have been cleaned up, based, not primed yet, and most of these are single piece castings, so there's no issues at all. The Dire Bear had separate arms, which needed a little bit of gap filling. It's not complete yet. I've been using this stuff, which is the same stuff as they call plastic putty in smaller bottles, and it's basically the same kind of stuff as liquid green stuff. It's slightly better than liquid green stuff, but it does shrink after application, which is sort of good. But you can see there's a hole there, and it still needs to be filled. In general, the right arm, this one close to the body, fit much better. It was a rather snug fit. The left arm took a bit of work to get it in position and glued on, but I managed. Now, this is an old sculpt, you might notice, because the dire bear is simply just a big bear. I think the artwork for D&D and similar games had not yet started adding the spikes and shit to dire beasts when this was sculpted, probably. There's a little bit of it on the dire boars. They have more sort of horns on their faces, and they're like razorbacks with big like mohawk ruffs here, but there's no spikes along the back in this one or this one. So yeah, but I'll get some more paint on these by next week. Now for next week, let's start with the fine painting. My next project to at least start at the gaming store painting evening on Monday, next Monday. I thought I'd go back to some metal minis, and I've found the remainder of my Harwood Hobbies figures that I had lying around. That's this logo here, and as you can tell from the name of this one, they are from the sort of 1001 Nights setting of that company. We have Kalila, the harm girl assassin, who is hiding a knife behind her back. We have Ashwarya, who's not a harm girl of any sort. She's a warrior type. Niaf, the slave girl, who is simply a girl standing around. We have Princess Parisa, who is also sort of standing there. And finally, another harem girl assassin, Jamila. She's gesturing with one hand and holding a knife behind her back. So there's 5 figures, and as it happens, I have here 5 bases from Micro Art Studios, the mosaic bases, which, as you can see, are basically just stone, but with a pattern cut gently into them. The idea, of course, being that these are tiles and you can paint them all different colors to make a mosaic. So I thought I would mount these figures on these bases, and that would be a cool project. And because these are all thematically linked, I want to do them all at the same time. Of course, I can't paint 5 minis in one evening. That's not going to happen. But I can get started on them and at least maybe finish a few of them, and then finish the rest at home. So for Bones, went back into the core set and pulled out a subset which in the Kickstarter graphic is called Demons and Devils. Back up. There we go. It's kind of a little misnomer. There's only a few actual demons and devils in here. Here we have a bat-winged female. I suppose you could call it a succubus. Here's another winged dude in this case. And I think there's supposed to be one more. Yeah, here he is. Here's another winged muscular dude. So there's like 3 demons and or devils. And then there's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 of these mini minotaurs. They're minotaur figures, but they're midget minotaurs. And I mean, minotaurs are evil and midgets are evil, so that's a good combination. Sorry for the repeating tired old tropes there, but that's the way it usually goes in fantasy. What else do we have? Well, we have this huge armored warrior who is sort of an anti-paladin or death knight type with rather nice scenic base, strange shape, rectangular. It's not circular or square, but rectangular. Oh well. And finally, for some unfathomable reason, Baba Yaga, or Baba Yaga, depending on how you think it should be pronounced, riding in her pot, flying pot. Really interesting. I did not get the add-on for Baba Yaga's hut, unfortunately. Or, well, I mean, it's a huge set piece that I would have extremely little use for. So, you know, I have to think about space a little bit when I buy stuff. So anyway, there's 4, 7, 8, 9 minis, I think it is. Yes, for these 5, 6, 9. Yeah, they're all bad guys and all different, but all interesting looking. So I will prep these next week and we will see how they look. And as we reach the end of this video, this episode of my continuous miniature ramblings, I want to show you a couple of miniatures I picked up in the past week. Just sort of impulse buys. We have the Leng Spider from Ramble, which is a sort of Cthulhu mythos being, which also exists in some versions of D&D and Pathfinder. And the other thing is, at my local game store, I picked up the Shambling Mound by WizKids by Nolzur's Marvelous Miniatures, which is sculpted to exactly resemble the illustration in the Monster Manual of a Shambling Mound. And here we have a really boring paint job illustrated on the back. Now, the reason I picked up this one was it looked sort of cool, and I only have one miniature that can represent a Shambling Mound so far, which is Reaper's, what's it called, Spirit of the Forest, which is much cooler than this mini, by the way, but this one is more, like I said, it's exactly like the Illo in the Monster Manual. So, you know what, I'll add this one, the Shambling Mound, to the pile of stuff I'm prepping for next week. I'll try not to, let's see, I don't think it looks like it needs a lot of cleanup. I could probably let it keep the primer layer it has and try to just paint on top of that and see how that works. I've never tried that before. Last time I had some Nolzur's minis, I added my own primer to them. But yeah, the Leng Spider I'll put aside for the time being. That was it for this week. I hope there was something in it that you could latch onto and find interesting. Please click like, subscribe, come back next week, spread the word, share the video, you know, comments, all that usual stuff. I will, as always, be back next Monday, same time, same channel. Until then, I'm Doc Ian, and I'm signing off.